measure.
High step thing.
Survive 5.
Hall of Famer Tito Santana.
Built 5 wrestling going up.
Stuff. Just enjoy wrestling.
Wedding by Nitro.
What's your opinion?
And something like that than I have ever found.
Whoa! Hey! Back in the same room. Look at this.
It's nice.
I'm Notorious ATB.
I'm Till 510.
We're Till 5 Wrestling. What? And you disappeared.
Oh.
Hey.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Hey. Oh. We may do that from time to time.
Yeah, from time to time. You might, I guess.
I may disappear. Whoa.
Hey. Speaking of someone who disappeared and returned.
That's right. Kota Ibushi. That's why we're doing this segment, really.
Yeah.
Because of his return. So he debuted in DDT in 2004. Did literally everything you can possibly do in a promotion there. Formed the Golden Lovers with Kenny Omega in 2009. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then he started working in New Japan in 2009 as well. Became a 3-time junior champion and got the tag belts with Kenny.
Golden Lovers.
Golden Lovers, baby. Won all the other belts. Became a champion. And now he's working in AEW. He's worked all over the Indies.
He showed up and worked a couple of matches for him.
Did.
What, 2 years ago? 2 years ago?
About 2 years ago,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And neither one of us were real pleased. It wasn't
didn't
Kota
look like
Ibushi
Kota
that we
Ibushi.
expected.
Kota Ibushi works a high level, and we'll get into some of his
I had
matches
seen
in
his
just a
stuff
second.
in Evolve back in
Yeah.
the day. The Cruiserweight Classic. Not much of his New Japan work, but I had
I've got
seen
you
that
covered
stuff.
there.
So I knew the guy could work. And when he showed up in AEW at first, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But this one that just showed up a couple weeks ago
Kota's
and
back now.
is going up against Okada, yeah, that's the Kota Ibushi.
And if you want to see the Kota Ibushi that we're getting right now, then why don't you go back and find Kota Ibushi versus Hiroshi Tanahashi from December 8th, 2018, New Japan. Or check out my favorite Kota Ibushi match.
Power off.
And the power's off now. Kota Ibushi versus Shinsuke Nakamura on April 1st, 2015.
Well, now, if the power's off at your place and you need to get a hold of some equipment to help with
At
that,
least it worked out.
we recommend that you go see our good friends at Stover's Liquidation. Well, they have liquidation and wholesale home improvement. Truckload quantities are available. You can contact them at 865-523-4449. That is for the Oak Ridge location, located at 481 Tulsa Road in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. They are open from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m., closed on Sundays, or you can go to www.stoversliquidation.com 24 hours a day online. Now, Tan's had the pleasure of watching a lot of classic WCW with me lately.
I've not been having a lot of fun.
No, but I promised, and I delivered. This Spring Stampede show
Stampede
was a blast.
was pretty awesome.
We are in to week 5 of the rewatch.
It rejuvenated my want to continue to do this, even.
And I love how many times in life you've got 5 surefire
Surefire, baby.
ballot Hall of Famers in one image: Sting, DDP, Hogan, Flair, and Macho.
How can you not love that?
I know, it was awesome.
How can you not love that?
And then it all went to shit.
It did all go to shit.
But
But we'll start where it didn't go to shit.
an amazing cruiserweight match.
Yes, as WCW did so well. That has been the highlight to me since we've been doing the rewatch. The Cruiserweight guys are phenomenal.
I think while it makes sense to put Hoovy in the match, like to give him the win over Blitzkrieg
Right.
because he'd been there, and it's going to be a great match with him and Ray. Personally, looking back, I wish they had went with Blitzkrieg getting the W just for him and Ray. I think that would be
Yeah, that would have been a lot of fun. But it was awesome, and the Juice won. And then next you got Bam Bam Bigelow defeated Hack in a hardcore match, which, I really loved in this match that they just kept continuously, Sandman kept doing moonsaults.
He would just fall off stuff.
Over and over and over. He kept, and he
dives
wasn't hitting
off
many.
Dives off the stagecoach
Yeah.
to start the match. You have him diving off of a ladder. It's not a ladder match. No offense to have
At
it in
no
there.
point, yeah.
Yeah. But
He does a swanton under the ladder at
And
some point.
you pointed out, let's remember, I watched this live when
Right.
I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
Now you understand why I hate ECW so much.
No, I really do. Seeing the guys that I love in ECW, like Bam Bam and Sandman, or Hack here,
Yeah.
which is fitting.
Yeah.
I totally get why you hate ECW.
Yeah, it
This
was
is not
awful.
a great showcase for these guys.
No.
And you can tell that Bischoff totally did not give a shit about ECW at all.
Then our next match, we have another ECW guy, Mikey Whipwreck,
Yeah.
putting over Scotty Riggs, who we both agreed really should have been in that U.S. title
All
tournament.
right, man.
Why didn't they push him as a star?
Scotty Riggs, when he came out, I said, holy shit, he is the perfect wrestler. Look at him. Look at it.
He had the look.
And then he got the mic and he cut a promo, and I said, okay,
It's not awful.
this is the
There-
guy.
Yeah,
Then
but-
he had a match with Mikey Whipwreck. That was pretty fun.
it was passable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a lot better than the next match on the card.
Yeah.
Conan
Oh,
and
God.
Disco Inferno, hands down, the coolest thing about Conan are his clotheslines.
I just kept talking about how cool Conan looked the entire time. I was like, Conan looks awesome. His
He-
entrance is awesome.
This was his prime. It really was.
Conan's great.
Yeah, this was the start of Conan's prime. Of course, he beats El Cucaracho, Disco Inferno. And then we get Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman for the Cruiserweight title. These
Excellent.
guys
Excellent.
never disappoint.
Excellent. Great stuff.
Ray retains, of
Yep.
course. Then we get into a really fun tag team match with Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko against Perry Saturn and Raven. And this was some old school horsemen beat the dog shit out of
Yeah.
people.
And it was awesome.
It was a
I
blast.
think a lot of people forget how great Perry Saturn and Dean Malenko were in the ring.
Yeah.
Excellent. Go back and watch some of their stuff. You will not be disappointed.
And then Scott Steiner and Booker T. Steiner going off on the crowd.
Steiner was really pissed off this night. He was very enraged and he was feeling
It
it.
was almost like he was roid rage.
And it went on forever and ever and ever. He just continuously was like, what are you going to do, fatty? What are you going to do out there?
Come on over this round. Come on over the round. You can't handle the big bad booty dad.
And then during the match, he would go back out there and be like, what? What?
Yeah, he locked Steiner in a submission hold in his John with the people in the front row.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Or he locked Booker. in.
Booker, yeah.
It was a fun match. A very nice prelude to what would be coming in a year with these two
Absolutely.
guys. Steiner, of course, picks up the WCW US title.
Good choice at the time.
Yeah. Then we get Goldberg defeating Kevin Nash, picking up his win back from Starrcade.
Goldberg.
That's Bill Goldberg.
I don't give a shit that I screwed it up. That's how bad fuck Bill Goldberg.
And then we get to the Four Corners match for the world title.
Yeah, and here's where I was like, okay.
First off, let's remember that as we're watching this, Tanner looks at me and says, is Macho Man the ref? Because he's dressed like he's there to wrestle.
Well, they don't. They introduce him. Like Macho Man comes out before they introduce him, but they don't say he's the ref. He just kind of hangs out in his ring gear, and then the other guys start coming out. And I was like, wait a second, Macho's not in this match.
No,
Like,
Macho
Macho's
was the
not in this
referee.
match. Yeah.
And Hogan gets injured thanks to a figure four in the corner.
That's what his contract said, brother.
It's because, losing didn't work for him.
Not that night.
Flair locks Sting in the figure four.
Yep.
And Sting's about to tap. He gets to the ropes. Macho kicks Sting's arms down for whatever reason.
Yep.
And then drags Flair to the center of the ring and drops an elbow. DDP covers Flair and Flair kicks out.
Yeah.
And then Flair takes a diamond cutter and DDP wins his first title.
And I was speechless.
Yeah.
I still haven't figured out the booking decision on this one.
Well, now you need to watch Nitro and Thunder.
It made absolutely no sense at all for Randy Savage to hit either guy, really. But he hit them both, which makes even less sense.
Uh-huh.
So
And
it
then
couldn't
Paige
be-
didn't get the win off of that.
Right. So it was redundant.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I didn't. Even back then, I was like, this is stupid.
And then he didn't get the pin off of it, but then he didn't help him cheat again. He just was a normal ref at that point, but he wasn't in a referee outfit.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it was definitely something different
It wasn't
for them
a
to
terrible
try.
match,
No.
with all the, truthfully, but it was so hard to follow.
It was very hard. To
It
follow.
got very confusing.
And it was something different for them to try.
Yeah.
Kind of like this summer, we're doing something a little different. We're helping out our friends at the Nostalgia Show. Eldridge is out, so me and you are hopping in on random episodes
That's
for the
right.
summer. You can use seat code TIL5 at SeatGeek to get $20 off of a $50 purchase, or you can use code TIL5 with Dubby and get 10% off your purchase. You can also use code Nostalgia Show if you want, but we get the money if you use TIL5.
That's right.
So we're voting for that. And you guys can check us out. What are we talking about with Blackburn this summer? We're talking about G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Talking about South Park?
South Park, fireworks.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to talk about squirrels. I don't know why, but
We like squirrels.
yeah, I guess so. So yeah, that's going to be a fun. It's a fun summer project.
Summer.
Yeah. Now, somebody that was a lot of fun at various points in his career was none other than the notoriously legendary Chris Champagne Kanyon.
Oh Lord, man, I'm a big Kanyon fan, as you know.
Yeah, I like Kanyon. At one point, I actually had a Mortis autographed 8x10.
That's so cool.
Sold it in 2020.
Wish I'd known you.
You did. You wouldn't have paid what I sold it for.
Fair.
I got half a month's rent out of it.
Whew.
Yeah. So I was glad. It was right after the Dark Side of the Ring.
Ah, so it was relevant.
Yeah.
I got you.
So I was like, now's the time. So Kanyon debuted in 1992, working in the Indies in New York and New Jersey. He was a physical therapist for a few years. 94, he starts working as a jobber for the WWF.
Yeah.
Completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's irrelevant until he becomes Mortis.
Pretty much, which
Yeah.
happens he joins WCW in 96.
Joins WCW in 95.
In 95, sorry.
Yes.
Starts team with Mark Starr.
Yeah, as Men at Work.
Men at Work. Yep.
So then he gets his real gimmick that is actually pretty good. He becomes Mortis with James Vanderbeek.
Yeah.
It's this Mortal Kombat looking character.
Yeah, I
You can
remember
see him
that.
there.
Super cool.
I always loved his little staff with the Joker
Yep.
skull on it. Thought that was really
Well,
cool.
then you got that really cool Mortal Kombat feud with Glacier.
Yeah,
Out of
and
that
he
gimmick.
teamed with Wrath,
He teamed with
also
Wrath,
who ended up appearing in Mortal Kombat's
Who,
TV
you
series.
guys over the course of the last 5 weeks have seen my opinion on Wrath change. Wrath is awesome.
So then we end up having him unmask and join Raven's flock.
Yep.
And that was pretty fun for a little bit. Eventually, that all falls apart thanks to Raven setting them all free.
As that does.
And Kanyon disappears for a little bit.
Yep.
He shows back up to feud with DDP. He starts mocking DDP, of course. Eventually, you get the Jersey Triad with him
And Bam Bam.
and Bam
A
Bam
lot of
Bigelow
fun.
and DDP.
That's when it gets pretty fun.
Yeah, those two guys were a lot of fun. And then I really did enjoy in 99 when he was walking around as Chris Champagne.
Champagne's pretty funny.
It was hilarious
Yeah.
to me.
You got the Nitro girl.
Just call me
with him.
CK.
Yeah.
Just call me CK.
Yeah, that was it. Jay Biggs
Yeah.
was his manager.
Yes. And it was funny. Kanyon never really got the push that I feel like he deserved.
Yeah. No, he was so good for the time.
I really liked that at one point he was the Alliance MVP.
Yeah,
the
I
US
love that.
tag team
That's
champion.
where I really started to become a fan of Kanyon. In my early life is when he was double champ. He was U.S.
Okay.
champ and he was European champ, or he was tag team champ.
Tag
Excuse me,
team,
tag team champ. And
Yeah,
US
him and
champ.
DDP, they were
Yeah.
the tag team champions feuding.
He was the Alliance MVP, and I thought, man, this guy is so cool.
Right there he is in the middle
Yep.
with both the belts. DDP and Kanyon were a fun tag team, man. I
They
always
really
really
were.
enjoyed them.
I wish they would have went farther with that in WWE.
Kanyon really kind of got the
He got the
proverbial
short end
shaft
of
in WWF,
Yep.
WWE. They really did him wrong, and I feel like if they had done the man better, he'd probably still be alive today because
Yeah.
he's been a heck of an influence on a lot of young wrestlers.
Particularly Brian Cage,
Yes, who
who is his protege.
recently got saved. Congratulations, or baptized. Congratulations,
Congratulations,
Brian Cage.
Brian Cage.
One of us is very happy for you, sir. I'm happy for him. Yeah, this guy over here is like whatever. But
I like your wrestling work, man.
yeah, he's a fun wrestler. I'm actually not that huge of a wrestling fan of him. It's
What?
I mean, I like you. Don't get me wrong. Maybe we need to cover Brian Cage one week.
Well, maybe we should.
Yeah,
We can talk about
that
him
would-
getting baptized. And
Yeah.
talk about Christian summer camp and stuff. It'd be awesome.
Him getting the Mortis costume passed down to him from Chris Kanyon, getting us back
Yeah,
on
man,
track.
here for the last few weeks, you've given us a lot of unnecessary information.
That's why these people are notoriously legendary for random reasons.
This is so crazy. You keep giving me the most random shit. The John Nord one was way worse.
Well,
But-
if you want to hear some really random shit and fun stories, and you're local to the Somerset, London, Kentucky area, perhaps you should head to Somerset for the 2025 Commonwealth Professional Wrestling Legacy Hall of Fame, where our good friend Professor Bear will be inducted. You can also see some Triple Crown Wrestling. The doors will open at 6:30, a bell time of 7:05. Go see them and make sure to boo Joe Monroe when he starts to
boo,
speak.
Joe, boo.
Yeah. So I know that we've had a lot of fan mail at points, and you are just kind of overdoing
I'm over the
reviews.
fan mail.
Yeah.
I'm done with reviews, so I let you handle this.
So-
We'll do a quick shop run through this one.
Here you go, fan mail feature
That's literally how I'm sitting right now. The
Yeah.
graphic couldn't be any
Yeah.
better at all.
for Nick. This is the wrestling challenge from January 19th, 1992.
What a great show! I bet it was.
Actually, it was a lot of fun because I didn't realize what it was. This was the wrestling challenge that aired before the 1992 Royal Rumble,
Ah,
where Ric Flair was featured several times in backstage clips with a blurred out world title belt because he had the WCW belt on. So that it was cool to see that. You got to hear the big news at the start of the show was that Bret Hart had lost the Intercontinental title at the house show. He'd wrestled with 104-degree fever, and the Mountie had beat him. So
we love the Mountie.
and
Brett. Sorry, Brett.
Piper ends up replacing Bret
That,
at the Royal Rumble,
right.
and they
Which we
keep
have discussed on the show.
they keep doing vignettes of the people that are going to be in the Royal Rumble. Like during a match, they would show an Undertaker clip about how he's going to throw 29 other superstars, and Piper's like, I can be the first person to win 2 belts in one night because he's in the Royal Rumble and fighting for the Intercontinental title. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
Be pretty cool stuff.
The opening match was Randy Savage against Hercules Hernandez.
I like Hercules Hernandez.
You know who won that? This was Randy Savage's reinstatement and return to the ring.
Oh, so it's on.
Yeah, following his marriage to Elizabeth and Jake Roberts attacking him with the
It's
Cobra.
rocket time.
Yep. So then we get to our next match of the British Bulldog against Dusty Days. You know who won that match.
I don't know who Dusty Days is.
That's why you know who won that match. So during that one, we get a fun clip from Texas Tornado talking about the Royal Rumble.
Wow.
Yeah.
Little Kerry Von Erich.
Yes, sir. LOD destroys a couple of jobbers.
Okay.
While there's a clip for the Natural Disasters talking about their match of the pay-per-view. I really feel like this kind of production would be great for nowadays wrestling.
I agree.
You could have FTR beat up some jobbers, and then their opponents at the pay-per-view talk about their pay-per-view match.
Yep.
Like that would be an
They
easy
should
way to do
Every
stuff.
company should do shit like that.
Yeah, this was a great way to market your shows.
Yeah.
Then you get to see. Do you remember Virgil becoming the $1 Million champion? Okay.
I've seen the picture, obviously.
So Virgil won it from Ted DiBiase.
Right. I did know that.
I never knew how he lost it.
Mm.
This was how a new character debuted. The Repo Man. Yes.
Riverhead debuted on this night.
No, Virgil.
Oh, okay.
That's how Virgil.
Okay.
And there was clips from both of them talking about it. And Repo, because
I'm
Virgil was
gonna
like,
watch this show.
Virgil was like, I'm gonna beat you up. And Repo Man's like, why are you gonna beat me up? I'm just doing my job.
I gotta watch it.
Yeah, it was.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
It was all in all a really fun show, and they show Flair's. It was for some reason they showed his match from a couple of weeks prior. But the other thing that I think you would like from this era, I didn't realize it either. This was the week after the Rocker split. They showed the clip from Shawn's super kick and throwing Marty through the glass.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. It was a great era. Personally, I'm glad that Nick suggested it because it made me more aware of that era of wrestling and how it was marketed. So I'm really thankful, Nick. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Nick.
I'll give it a 3 out of 5 for a fun episode of television.
I'll give it the Till 5 gold buzzer.
Yeah, well, you know what you should be getting?
What should we be getting?
You should be getting some vapor, sir. You should go to our good friends at Magic Vapor Shop. They've got locations in Nicholasville. They got locations in London. They got locations in Cork. They got locations in Somerset. They got locations all across the state of Kentucky. You can go see our good friends at Magic Vapor Shop. They'll help you ditch the paper and switch to vapor.
And if you come to the London store, you can see your good friend, Till 510. And when you go to Magic Vapor Shop, make sure you tell them Till 5 sent you.
And now we've covered 4 of our segments. Now we're going to get into what could be the long one. And we're going to talk about phase 2 of Mick Foley.
That's right. This is
the second phase of his career as he's rounding up his ECW time.
And he's heading off.
He's heading to the big time.
To the Fed.
To the WWE. Okay. So he comes in and we've got him. Or you want to cover any more of your ECW garbage?
Not really. I got most of it out before you stopped me the other day. But I do think that we should note that he was working in IWA of Japan in '96, where he started having his famous feud with Terry Funk.
And the death matches, the flaming 2x4.
Yep.
He was a 2-time champ with Mikey Whipwreck there.
Yeah,
we talked about Mikey a little bit earlier.
Yep.
So then he debuts into the WWF in 1996 as Mankind. This creepy little...
Pulling his hair out, man. He's deranged.
Pulling chunks of his hair out. Yeah. Good times. He ended up being managed by Paul Bearer, who turns on The Undertaker. Oh, yeah.
Undertaker.
So he cracks The Undertaker in the head with his parents' iron and joins Mankind. We get the famous boiler room brawl. We get Buried Alive. Mankind, Mick Foley.
He did a lot of firsts.
Yes.
In WWE.
Yeah. We also have the first, ironically, all of these were against The Undertaker.
Yeah.
The first Buried Alive.
They're synonymous with each other.
Yeah. And that's probably Taker's favorite feud for me.
Yeah.
So he ends up getting joined by the Executioner at one point. Do you remember who the Executioner was?
Bam Bam, Terry Gordy.
That's right. Post-stroke.
Yeah.
I think this was Vince's way of
They're trying to help him out.
Yeah, he was getting him some money, but also protecting him by covering the face.
Yeah.
That was smart on Vince's behalf.
A lot of the guys at the time I read thought that was a good thing.
Yeah.
They didn't want Terry to embarrass himself.
And, that was the first Buried Alive match was there.
Yeah.
We get into 97. The feud continues to pick up and get more violent. And, okay. So
it's the black phone.
We've got anyways.
The movie.
Yeah, the movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
All right, well, Mick Foley.
Mick Foley. Anyways, sorry, sir. Foley ends up in 96. He brings back Dude Love for a little bit.
Yep.
And he had done this character on the roof of his house when he was younger.
Well, they've been doing vignettes.
Yeah.
Where he was talking to Jim Ross, and Jim Ross was asking him about some of his characters from his home videos, and he as Mankind, he was like, no, to hell with that. That's not real. I'm me. And then he came out to help his good old buddy Steve Austin, but when he showed up,
well, the first time that Dude Love appeared was the steel cage match. With Hunter Hearst Helmsley at SummerSlam. There was a mistake, and they didn't paint the heart on his chest. Do you remember the steel cage match he had with Triple H when he dove off the top?
Yes.
He rips his shirt up. He had colored with a marker a red heart because that was supposed to be the first Dude Love. And he had rubbed it all off during the match. So
they had to do it again later.
So they opted in for a new way of representing it and debuting the character.
Yep.
We get his Stone Cold time.
They debuted this persona as tag team partners with Austin, and they won the tag match.
Yeah, because Austin was needing a partner,
Yeah.
and he got stuck with Dude Love.
Yep.
Yeah.
But not long after that, Austin suffered a neck injury, and they had to vacate. Thanks, Owen.
Yeah.
Sorry, Owen. And he had to vacate. And then from there, he started the first little bit of his feud with Triple H. Or Hunter Hearst Helmsley at this time. And they had a couple of matches there.
Yeah.
Pre-DX.
Yes. When he was just Hunter Hearst.
Right.
Oh.
And around that time, he had a really great vignette where he was talking about his different gimmicks, Dude Love or Mankind, and he was trying to figure out which one of his personalities was going to wrestle on any given night.
He was going to wrestle Triple H on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
And we don't get Mankind.
Mm-mm.
We don't get Dude Love.
We get the first time in WWE that the character of Cactus Jack,
Yep.
my favorite Mick Foley persona.
And I really loved Cactus Jack
Yep.
and Chainsaw Charlie as tag team. I enjoyed that era.
Yep, and he won that match as Cactus Jack with a pile driver through a table. So
On the stage.
he amped it up
Yep.
for this one.
On the stage.
Yep.
And even I remember watching that and like, well, that was cool.
Yep. It was very good stuff. Now, another cool thing I wanted to say that around this time is that in September of 97, Foley as Mankind wrestled Sabu at Terry Funk's WrestleFest
In Amarillo.
in Amarillo, Texas, and that was organized to be the retirement of Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Obviously, that did not pan out.
No.
Because shortly after that, the reason that's relevant is because Terry Funk debuted in the WWF as Chainsaw Charlie to start teaming with Cactus Jack.
Because of course he did.
Yeah, why not?
Well, Funk never quit working.
So, we'll talk a little bit more about Cactus and Chainsaw here in a second. Before that, we got to talk about Royal Rumble 98.
Where all three
Where
Foleys came out.
Foley,
I wasn't sure if that was
Yeah.
before or after.
well, the Chainsaw Charlie match that we're going to get into is at WrestleMania 14.
Yeah. Hey, it's been a few years.
Sorry, man.
Yeah.
It's all right, Patty.
Calm down, Tampaw. Anyways, so Foley brings out all three characters to
Yep.
the Royal Rumble.
It's iconic.
Yeah, it's
There's
really
nothing
cool
like it.
because you get like, oh, well, Mankind's eliminated, and then Dude Loves music.
And you're like, oh my God. And unfortunately, he didn't win the damn thing.
No. No, Mick had 3 shots in one night and still lost.
He couldn't do it,
He took the
unfortunately.
So Mick ends up getting his good buddy Chainsaw Charlie. They get a tag team title shot at WrestleMania against the
The
New Age Outlaws.
Outlaws have a dumpster match,
Yes.
which is legendary because at the peak of that match, Terry and Mick Foley were in the trash can, and it was, or dumpster rather, and it was shoved off the stage in one of the craziest spots I remember.
They tied down the top of the trash
Uh-huh.
of the dumpster and they shoved it off the stage.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun. And then they end up winning the belts at Mania,
Yes, they do.
but that wasn't the original dumpster.
No.
So they get a rematch the next night, and the New Age Outlaws are taking on Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack, and you see the new DX debut.
Yep.
You have Hunter, you have New Age Outlaws, China, and X-Pac.
X-Pac. Yes, sir.
And they beat them up, they strangle them. It was just a lot of fun. I remember that vividly.
Well, from there, he turned heel. Cactus Jack did, and he started feuding with Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And he was out cutting pretty awesome promos as Cactus Jack, talking about how the fans didn't appreciate him for what he'd put his body through.
Well,
He was tired of the fans only wanting him to jump off of stuff and hurt himself for their gain. So he was going to make everybody else that they loved hurt in return.
so he goes into this feud with Austin, and I didn't care much for it.
No,
Honestly,
it's
I'd
fine.
forgotten it. It kind of just blipped out of my
But
memory.
this character gets good when he reignites his feud with Undertaker
It does.
in 98.
It helps him go off the top of the Hell in a Cell.
Yep. During that time, he also teamed with Kane, where they won the tag team titles twice.
And we get a kind of comedy Mick Foley for a little bit.
Yep. It's a good thing.
We get Mick thinking that he's going to be the new top guy with Vince.
He's Vince's buddy.
Yeah, that Vince loves him.
Yeah.
And they did a great job at Survivor Series 98.
Yes, they did.
of making you think that Mick Foley was actually going to win the title thanks to Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
But instead, it was all the swerve to get the Rock the belt. That's how we got the People's Champion. Because who would want someone as ugly as Mick Foley to be the world champion?
And it was a shame, man, because Foley was doing good. Before that, Vince had created the Hardcore Championship and gave it to Foley.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he had gave him the shattered old WWF title that I think it was Stone Cold or somebody had smashed it was the goal there.
But at the culmination of Survivor Series, popped out the corporation. The corporation was born. And after several weeks of going after the corporation, Mankind finally defeated The Rock to win his first WWF championship.
That'll put a lot of butts in seats.
On December 29th. On Monday Night Raw. Live. Or
pre-tape because WCW Nitro was live.
That's right.
And Tony Schiavone gave away the results, and fans flocked to watch Monday Night Raw and see
everybody
Mick Foley win his belt. Yeah, that was the dumbest move they did, and honestly, I feel like that was as big of a nail in the coffin as the finger poke was.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah,
that was a mistake.
The two of them combined had you going into 1999 with your fans already ready to run to the WWE.
Now, then he lost the championship back to The Rock in an I Quit match at the Royal Rumble. And this is a match that
I love this match.
This match is...
It's hard to watch now.
It's very hard to watch now. Mick Foley at some point gets handcuffed.
And takes several chair shots to the head.
A lot of chair shots.
Unprotected chair shots to the head. And then they have a recording of Mick saying "I quit."
Yeah,
as the way that.
I do think that that's funny.
Yeah,
yeah.
They never did really do anything else with it.
No, they should have.
Yeah, but that was a lot of fun.
But that's okay because not too long after that, Mick Foley won the title back at Halftime Heat
in an empty arena against The Rock.
Which took place during the Super Bowl in January. So they like the hot potato of this crap for a while because he dropped it back to The Rock a couple days later.
Well, that's what you did.
Yeah.
Back then. And the funny thing was, you would have thought that they were going to have Foley and The Rock at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But no, we were just buying time for Stone Cold to come back.
Now, when he dropped it back to The Rock, he took a couple months off. He was banged up. When he came back in August 1999, he was back at 99. You've made a lot of blunders tonight. Don't get me started. I ain't said shit. In 1999, he returned to feud with Triple H.
Hey, Bill Goldberg.
Fuck him, dude. Finish this segment. Jesus Christ.
All right, come on.
What do you want? I just thought maybe you want to talk about his kids or his personal life real quick before we kept going.
Well, his daughter decided to wrestle for a little bit.
Noelle?
Yeah. And then she got a concussion and she had to stop. She's engaged.
Any medical history, any kind of law issues for him?
No. His son worked for WWE for a while. May still work there, actually.
Is he a creative guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And Noelle is dating or engaged to Frank the Clown.
The indie guy?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. Gives hope to all the internet losers out there, I think.
Okay. Works for me.
Yeah.
So where were we? He came back to feud with Triple H.
Yeah. He comes back to feud with Triple H again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comes back to feud with Triple H. Blah, 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 blah.
Foley was the go-to hand for a lot of people.
Yeah. He won the championship his third time by pinning Steve Austin in a match at SummerSlam.
With Jesse Ventura as the referee.
Jesse Ventura as the referee. And the next night on Raw, because this is what you do with Foley, Triple H beat him to win his first world title.
Well, Foley was the Sasha Banks of the men's world title division.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And towards the end of 99, he and The Rock would form the Rock and Sock Connection.
That was a fun time.
That was a fun time. You got the This Is Your Life angle segment, rather. That was awesome.
Yeah. It was with Yerple.
Yerple. Yep, Yerple the Clown.
Yerple the Clown. Yeah. Those were good. A lot of this era of Foley with the suit, shirt, and the necktie, and Mr. Sacco, that was a lot of fun. But for me, it all kind of blurs together.
It does. Foley wasn't around that long, man. This all happened in like a 3-year span. Yeah.
He would have very short, fun runs with people. and then just move on to the next thing.
Well,
He
then-
was the go-to hand.
We get on to December 27th, 1999, on an episode of Raw. Foley and The Rock had a pink slip on a pole match, which I'm sure Vince Russo wrote. Is that true?
What year was it?
99. Probably not. December 99.
Nope. Russo was gone by then.
Interesting. Well, anyway, whoever grabbed the pink slip first could stay, and the loser had to leave. Foley lost.
Of course.
He showed up as Mankind on SmackDown a couple weeks later, and then he fell back into Cactus Jack to promote Cactus Jack taking on Triple H in the Royal Rumble in a street fight. So kind of bounced around for a minute after that.
Well, Foley was starting to round up his. He thought he was rounding up.
So
his
he was
career.
kind of tying up these characters. Is what he was doing in the next few weeks.
I
Following
will
the
never
pink slip.
forget that Royal Rumble spot,
Yeah.
and when the pallet board went into Triple H's leg,
Yes, man.
the big chunk of it.
Crazy.
Fun match.
Yep.
And Foley lost.
Yep. And he was going to retire right there, but Stone Cold was injured.
Mm-hmm.
And he felt bad. And he didn't want to leave the company without another star. So he stayed until WrestleMania.
Well, you get a really fun four-way, a McMahon in every corner.
Yeah.
You've got the Big Show with Shane. You've got Mick with Linda. You've got Triple H with Stephanie. And you've got The Rock with Triple H?
The Rock
No.
with Vince.
The Rock with Vince.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, and then, after that match, he basically would retire from
That
active
would be
competition.
his, pretty much.
That's his swan song.
That was his goodbye. He got the main event WrestleMania in New York. That was big for me.
And that was his swan song.
Yeah, and
For now.
for a lot of us, we thought that was the end of Mick Foley.
Yeah.
And eventually he might pop up, maybe as a commissioner, maybe have a few matches against a young guy. I don't know. Maybe we'll get to cover a lot of